Hello and welcome to another video on the React Native version 2. This course is taught by Kadi Kraman, a software engineer from Slovenia that she started as a mathematician and then he moved on to now the software development. He, previous, he She previously worked at Formidable, a social first creative agency as a director of engineering mobile services, and now she is currently working at Expo as a software developer. And how here Expo is this particularly suite of tools for and around React Native. So it was quite interesting to know more about how she have handled things, how she have even had their GitHub page, as a way to actually build their personal brand, which is something important. And I think a lot of software developers they actually skip this thing. They say, "Hey, no, I don't want to show my face or whatever it is." Right? But it is very, very important because not only for this labor or this faculty as a software engineer or computer science, but also for any faculties. Because as you grow in this industry, in this career, that is when you're now starting to have better problems. You know what I mean? Uh, and by that is, well, you're starting to now explore other ideas, other uh, concept, other problems. But first, you need to actually do the work because people need to know who are you. LinkedIn level, man. LinkedIn level. It's like, okay, this is what you have done, how you have worked, blah, 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 blah. Okay, makes sense. Makes a lot of sense. Okay, so that's great as a way to look at what she has done. Uh, by the way, we're going to take a look at these two courses. One of them is from FrontendMaster, the Intro to React Native, which is what we're doing right now, and the other is the Intermediate React Native, okay, on FrontendMaster. So yes, and the goal of this particular course is to learn techniques and strategy and how to build React Native applications by understanding is their concepts, the jargon, and how it differs how the React Native differ from React Web. Okay, that's the entire goal of this. So you can be familiar with the techniques and strategy that we do as we build React applications and uh, the difference that differ from React and React on the web. So who is this course is for any JavaScript developer that are not familiar or that is new to React Native. So if you know React, a lot of the knowledge is immediately transferable to this. A little bit of introduction here that you need Windows, Mac, or Linux to run this, and any other Android or iOS device, which is something that I need to. Uh, so what's React Native? Because our mobile devices is a very tremendous, powerful device capable of computing 100,000 times the in half. So it has more than 100,000 times of computing power and 1 million times of memory RAM, or more RAM than the guidance computer of Apollo 11 that landed the first humans on the moon. The point of this is to recognize that back in the 2020 and now in the 2024 is even further, is that how all of this computing power now is being done in these small devices. What we have achieved in the past 50 years. And thanks to all the hard work to the engineers, women and men, whatever people has involved in the process of making this much more uh, powerful. So because of this small touch base and screen is suboptimal when browsing the web. Even though um, when we now split here in terms of how many users around the world are using a specific mobile, specific iOS version. There is a very interesting website called gs.statcount where it shows you is this particularly metrics. So 70% of people around the world is now using Android, whereas 28.40 28 a little more than 28% are using is iOS, which, as you can see, a lot of people that live in the US or Australia or sometimes in France, they know a lot of iPhone users, but the rest of the world actually is, or they hold, is an Android. So the point here is that by recognizing is who is your audience, who is this market, especially of the OS. Um, Now you want to know, you want to target is the 99% of devices. So to do that, you need to say, hey, we need to now here with this data at hand, develop for Android and for iOS. Good. So we have now two different approach here, two different workflows. So because an application on one device doesn't work in another, from one OS doesn't work in another, uh, that's what we have to have. That's what we need to have this workflow from Android using Java or Kotlin, or for iOS using is Object C and Swift or Swift. Okay, so because all of this is quite expensive, it's tedious, it's time consuming, and you have to now keep track different code sets. People on the industry, for example Facebook, decide to have a go at solving it, and this leads them to create now React Native by saying that's going to have is one workflow, one code base, one dev team that are capable to fully extend the capability of the React Native of the ecosystem. So the way how this work and the quite frankly the benefit of using this according to according to Kadi, okay, is that is a Kadi Kraman is that okay? So this is the benefits. Okay, so the benefit of this particular approach by now developing applications in React Native is that well, it's backed by Facebook. It is almost indistinguishable, indistinguishable from real native apps. Okay, from real native apps. It is fully extensible, so if there is nothing, so you can go into native code to actually build something that React Native doesn't support, and it is open source. Okay, so this benefit that she mentioned, especially of why it is useful, why it is good to use React Native. It was more in terms of well, it is backed by Facebook. Uh, you can now have two applications that are indistinguishable, so they reuse this, so they're gonna look like real apps. Okay, You can extend the functionality of the React Native by going into the native code if you need to. It can be quite cumbersome, but yes, yes. Uh, in a lot of solutions out there, for example, Ionic, Cordova, is like they give you to a set of tools that you can use, but if you want something outside of this, you're on your own. You're lost. So once you know here and be able to articulate uh, that for yourself and then for someone else, especially for your staff, engineer, senior engineering, or the uh, tech lead, uh, you name it, right? So whoever you need to report them, that's the reason why I am now improving my communication skills vastly, and especially with React Native, which is something that I'm going to do at my work. So, with that little introduction about this course, what is the goal of the course, the introduction, the things that we need to do, what is React Native, okay? So React Native comes to play to help you build applications in iOS and Android. Okay, by having one workflow, one dev team, one code base that is fully extensible. So that's the premise and that's the promise of React Native. And how that works, okay, and we make a little bit of history for context as a way to describe is what is React Native and how do we get here, which is something very important. Go back to the fundamentals, which is well how it works. This is by unlike having to create. So the React team or the React Native is built in such a way that it target existing compilers. So React Native. So you write your code in JavaScript like this. I think you can see. Yes. So you write your code in JavaScript. React Native actually target existing compilers, okay, that actually they do their job and they do that very well. In the case of the standard Android compiler, which generate is an artifact on Android, the standard compile the iOS compiler generate an artifact or iOS artifact similar to Windows, similar to React Native VR. So the pattern that I think that they must follow is the adapter pattern, where now you want to make two objects to communicate each other. Okay, two objects with different interface to communicate each other. Presumably, that's the pattern that they are using, right? Presumably, is this right? So this is a structural pattern. Okay, and a way to recap here pattern. Well, this is an approach to common solution. This is an approach for common problems. Okay, a proving approach for common problems. When they should say, there are typical solutions to commonly occur problems in software design. Not only in software design, but also when it comes to design anything or design pattern, right? Is is independent of sorry is independent of the faculty. If you're going to design something, uh, and as you design something, you find some problems, and you see those problems actually happen over and over and over and over and over. So you started to see the pattern, and then you create a design pattern. So is that design patterns are typically problems, uh, are typical solutions to commonly occurring problems. to recurring problems. Okay, so that is the design pattern, and the using is one of the catalog or this or the in the catalog of design patterns you have is structural, you have creation, you have structural patterns, and you have behaviors. Okay, that's something quite interesting, by the way. Totally interesting. The way of how they split that by creation, by how it looked like, what is the shape of this structure, and how it behaves or what it does. So here is the adapter. I'm assuming is that so you have two different objects with incompatible interface to collaborate. Okay, so in this particular case, you have now two different objects with different incompatible uh, interface to collaborate. You have now JavaScript. You need to find a way to make that actually communicate to any of these compilers, any of these uh, platform compilers. Okay, whether it's Android, whether it's whether it's Android, whether it's iOS, whether it's Windows, that kind of thing. And the way to do that is by using is React Native. So that's what it is, React Native. Okay, React Native allows you to build iOS and Android application. If you want to be more technical, what it does is to offer you ways to target, which is this. Uh, React Native is built, so React Native is built in such a way that targets specific compilers, platform specific compilers. That makes a lot of sense. So, okay, that makes a lot of sense. It's targeting compilers from that. Okay. So what I'm assuming here that React Native does is to say, hey, I'm going to generate is the necessary file, right? Okay. I'm gonna create is the necessary files that this compiler needs, whether it's in Java or Kotlin in the case of Android, whether it's Object-C or Swift in the case of standard iOS or the iOS compiler, or in the case of Windows, or in the case of React Native VR. Mhm. How can we make sure of that? We can ask to ChatGPT for that. Okay. Uh, so it is safe to assume that this is something that we're gonna see that as we move on, as we get our hands there. Okay, this is a valid question. Okay, this is part of my question here. Okay, is is React is React Native generating the input for those compilers? Trying to find out. Okay, okay. So is React Native generating the input for those compilers? That's the question. Hey, I'm generating is the Java code or the Kotlin or for the Android compiler, or I'm generating is the Object C or Swift code for the iOS compiler. That's a very interesting question. That question. Uh, yeah. Um, I'm a new I'm a new React Native. Yeah, I'm a new React Native dev here. Is React Native generating the input for those compilers? You have our Kotlin files for Android compiler? Objective C or Swift for iOS? Okay. So, so. Some of the QA that it was asked by the audience during that particular interview or that workshop from Kadi, 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 Kraman is that it was two interesting questions. First is that what when do you have to particularly go? When do you have to particularly go out to React Native to implement to when you have to go out to React Native world to implement is the or to access to the native code. So right, when do you have to go out to React Native to build your own React Native code solutions? That's the question. Linking a specific service, a specific email provider in Android, in which you need to create a new payment provider. You know, when you need to create a new payment provider, that's something interesting. That was one question. Okay, so when you need to have to do things that are specific for that particular client, handle specific payment methods, and the other is for mail providers. Most of the time, I will say that uh, okay. Most of the time, I will say that you have is to now uh, okay, uh, be ready when you because you will need to have you need to have to be ready to write Java or yeah to write Java or React or Object C or Swift code. Okay, okay. So that was question one. And question two, it was more like for performance issues. Which feature do we have to stay away because they are not that performant? According to her, she say that because Famous is building this Hermes, which is the JavaScript engine, right now they're not that performance issue. They're not. There should be not considerably performance issue. And then we look at Expo and React Native. So Expo, for those who are new to React Native, I didn't know about it. Okay, so Expo is a suite of tools built for and around React Native. So if you remember, React Native is built to target compiler, to target platform compilers, okay, platform specific compilers, all right. And now this Expo, this tool, allow you to now, it is a suite of tools. It's a suite of tools. It's a suite of tools built for and around React Native. Okay, it means that it's all about developer experience. In the case of Expo, okay, it means that with React Native on foot, it's quite cumbersome to do that. Okay, so again, Expo is streamlining the developer experience. Okay, it automating a lot of this process. All right, but again, Expo is all focused on developer experience. So it is designed to make your building app experience as easily as possible. And it is interesting because back in 2020, they took like quite amount of time to build that, to generate an application. And yeah, so Expo and Facebook are separate companies that are not affiliated, and some people have strong opinions whether or not to use Expo or just use React, plain vanilla React Native. So this is an introductory workshop that can be followed with Expo and without it. In a particular case, this company actually is handling, uh, yeah, this company can handling is that okay, okay, okay. So, what's next? You know, uh, so if you're new to the mobile development and you want to take, yeah, if you are new to the mobile development and you want to have a test with React Native and playing around with this little thing, I will recommend, will 100% recommend to go with Expo because it's a lot of easier to go with this less configuration and you should write code more quickly. So if you're in Windows uh, or Linux, you should definitely go with Expo. But if you want to use your physical iPhone to run your app on, because you can build iOS, okay, because you can build an iOS app on Windows or Linux, you will need a Mac for that. Expo on a physical device is the quickest way to get going. So the thing is that is they allow you to generate those particular codes. So React Native developers will end up on a Mac since they can build apps for Androids and Mac. So sometimes that with platforms like Windows or Linux, but you can only can create Android. Using Expo allow you to reduce the setup time. So the thing here is that with Expo, even though that a lot of developers has a strong opinion about it is good when it comes to explore little things here and there as is you are if you are a new mobile developer because it allows you to it reduces the setup time. I'm into it. I'm definitely into that. The other is expo limitations. So the known expo limitations, at least from back in 2020, it's important that this might be quite updated. Okay, is that if you need, for example, something that is that go out of the outside of the React Native, uh, or which is something that is not built in Expo, You will have to do something called ejecting back in 2020, okay? That is converting your application into vanilla React Native. That's when it becomes tricky. And from Kadi Kraman experience, all productions app that she has built have either ejecting if they has been started with Expo. And this is based on client's need. She used Expo for speed of the setup process because it can take up to 2 hours to do that. And that's exactly what we're gonna do today. Setting up, look at the setup section here. Okay, all right, let's go for it. Let's go for it. All right.
Now, if you
So,
so you have already set up your Expo environment, and if you have, that's great. But I'm just gonna run this through from scratch.
okay, okay. Now it is time to do is this setup here. Caddy walk. Yeah, here Caddy walk through our setup. Here Caddy walk through our setup from scratch.
So we can do it together if you haven't yet. Cool. So find a good place. Um, yeah. So first thing, basically, I always refer to the React Native docs or Expo docs. Like these, the React Native docs particularly are like the bread and butter. Like I use them all the time.
Okay. Get the bread and butter. The coffee milk. The bread and butter. Okay. Okay.
I always refer to
Okay. So Caddy always refer us to native native. So React Native. So React Native. Okay. Caddy always refer us to React Native and Expo doc. So we want to take a look at the Expo doc. Since they are since they are like the since they are bread and butter. Okay, you got the Expo here. So you got the Expo here, the Expo documentation. They might have changed by the time of this recording. When you see that, they might have changed. Okay, and the other is the React Native. Okay, and the other is the React Native. There you got it. Other ones by anywhere. Exactly. If you're familiar with React, all of this is quite transferable for them. That's interesting. React Native is being used by thousands of apps, but it's likely you are already using one of these apps. Interesting. Mm, exactly, because after even Shopify. Exactly, because after all, Tesla. Because after all, you have now one code base, one development team, one workflow, fully extensible, that you can now target multiple devices. You can target now multiple platform compilers, or AKA different OS. Mhm. That's interesting. That's interesting. So where do we start? You know, our guide, how to use these dots. They are now in this version. Interesting. Try to edit me. But this is with Expo. Exactly. Using this Expo for that. And again, you come with this particular. Okay. Exactly. Remember that after all, since React Native is targeting this particularly compilers from those platforms, from the Android, from the OS, they have a certain set of, yeah, they have a specific set of APIs or tools that you can use it. Okay. Mhm. This is the developer out, and there you got it. Environment setup. Okay, setting up the development environment here. Okay, so that's exactly what I want to do here. Visual Studio Code. Let's get it. Let's get into it. Here we are. Yes. It's now quite loading there. Okay. Okay. All right. So, so far so good. It's actually working, even though that you have a spike in CPU consumption. You know, lovely, 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 lovely. You know what? I would like to actually say, hey, cool down, bro. Cool down. Okay. So, okay, that's great. Finally, I feel better. Okay, so because now we're gonna work is on creating our own. So courses. Right now you're not able to see what I'm doing, but you will. And this is from make their React Native, right? See the React Native. Let me open up here with code. There you got it. You close this. Exactly. If you're new to mobile, and you got it. Whew, that's right. Okay. Let me find a good. Yeah, I already find a good place to do this. Awesome. Perfect. So yeah. So, uh, let me actually keep looking at at that course. Okay. and that is this. Okay.
To the React Native docs or Expo docs. Like these, the React Native docs particularly are like the bread and butter. Like I use them all the time. And like the best guides, in my opinion, are these quick starts. So I'll always use these because they update these whenever they release new versions. Cool. So basically, what we are doing is this.
Holy moly. Because right now I'm looking at the video, I'm taking note out of this. They are using is the Node version they were using was like what? Exactly. You're new to mobile development. The easy way to get up started is with Expo. If you're familiar with mobile development, you may want to use React Native CLI. It requires Xcode or Android Studio to get started. If you already have one of those tools installed, you should be able to get up and running within a few minutes. If you're not installed, you should expect to spend about an hour installing and configuring them. Holy moly. Follow these instructions if you need to build a native code, and the other is this. But because we are going to go with this, Expo is a set of tools and service built around React Native. Well, it has many features. The most relevant feature for us now is that it can get you right in your React Native app within minutes. You will only need a new, exactly, you will only need a recent version of Node.js and a phone or emulator. Exactly. You will only need a recent version of Node.js and a phone or an emulator in the case of Android. Okay. So I got the phone and I got the recent version of Node. Now they don't tell you which version. Okay. If you like to try out React Native directly in your web browser before installing any tool, you can try Snack. Uh-huh. But this is you understood run is okay. Alright. Holy moly. Oh my god. And I get it. Change code the editor and watch me change on your phone. On the web, on the iOS, on Android, and on my device. Unlock Expo Go and scan the QR code to get started. Okay, so this is now like a workshop or yeah, um, like your environment. Okay, the text editor for exactly the text editor for that. Are you using web containers here to load this thing? You're using React for that kind of thing. That's actually interesting. Excellent. Good. So, that's what it is. Asset examples, app. Okay. And you have this scarf from that. Alright. Remember that after all, React Native is built to target the platform compilers. Okay. Which means that it's going to expose certain features that are common in all of these environments. Okay, those that are outside of this will require you to know and to get your hands dirty when you have to go to the native code. The question is that it is on Kotlin, it is on it is on Kotlin, it is on how do you put it? It is on Kotlin, it is on uh, in the case of Android, it is on Kotlin or Java, or it is on Object C or Swift. You know, I think it's gonna depend on how do you write your code for that particular feature that you need to tell that you need to make that feature aware to React Native. In that case, yes, you are going to choose whatever language you need to go with to build that feature in those native, yeah, to build that feature in those native environments for those native or for those compilers, and then you're going to now output or generate is a model that is compatible in both or on this particular platform. I get it. I get it. Uh, I think it's starting to slowly make sense. All right. So I'm gonna take a look at the
So we
course.
need a computer, smartphone, and Node. If you already have Node installed, that's great. If you don't, you'll have to install it. You can check if you already have Node installed by typing node-v into your terminal.
So it require this is something that it requires to have Node installed. Setting up the development environment here. And you need to have Node for that. See the awesome projects like this. All right. Go with Expo or with this. A Mac is required to build project with native iOS. You can follow an Expo Go Quick Start. Okay. So, because I have my Node version manager installed, Node here for that, which we are running is version 20. Holy moly. Which version are they running? Are they running
If it turns
12?
the Node version number, you're golden. If not, you might have to go in. You can check if you already have Node installed by typing node-v into your terminal. If it returns the Node version number, you're golden. If not, you might have to go and install it. And if you need to install Node, you just go to Node's website and download port. And with
Okay, so now we're going to install back then that CLI. Yeah, I'm not sure if this is actually even okay. I'm not sure if this is gonna work because it's so old. Anything instead installed exactly. This is so old. It was like 4 years ago. This is now so old. I'm not sure that actually will work. Oh my god. React Native. Uh, mm, hmm. Okay, a little bit of history for that. We're going to install Expo CLI. Let me install this here. Okay, it is working.
install this globally so we could have the Expo CLI command available for us everywhere. Depending on your internet connection, this might take some time. Cool, we're done.
Okay, 24 seconds. Exactly. Depending on your internet connection, this might take quite a amount of time. Done. All right. It took about 3 minutes. Yeah. Okay.
Right, and now we're just going to initialize our project. So let's do Expo, init, and then your project name. So I'm going to name mine awesome project.
So if I follow the docs here, which is now using is this, and then you define that,
Expo.
because here what we did is you install this globally, something that you shouldn't do that. But in any case, we did it. Expo init, awesome project expo, awesome project expo. What are you laughing? Okay. Oh, what I did.
Right, and
Okay. So now the console here show me this kind of thing. Okay. Warning: Expo CLI has not yet been tested against Node 20. If you encounter any issue, please report them here. Expo CLI support the following Node version. maintain active and current release. That what the F? This version of Expo CLI is not supported anymore. So, which version of Node do you install, my lady? 12.3.1. Okay, 12.3.1. Okay, okay. Let me now install is that version. nvn use or nvn install version 12.13.1 because otherwise this won't work. So right now, what I'm doing is this. You can see what I'm doing here with React Native. Okay, nvn install version 12.13.1 is this. That's great. Which version are we using? 12.13.1. Okay, we're golden. And now, once I run this command, expo init awesome project, it said no, I couldn't find. Okay, because I need to use that. Okay, expo init. You know what? Let me do. Shit. nvn list nvn version 20 nvn use 20 for that. I want now to remove globally that expo init expo install here expo remove globally expo CLI 3. Please get out of here. Okay, and now I want to use 12.13.1. Great, and install that here. I know I am quite old. Yeah, we know that we are quite old of Node.js, right? Of Node.js versions, especially Node.js versions LTS, long term service. I want to take a look now. Exactly. The main is unstable. Mm-hmm. And now there is a lot of people using this Erbium release date. Mm-hmm. Okay. 12.22.12. So here we're using is the version 12.13.1. Version 12.13, which is prior to this. Okay, we're using is Erbium. Are they still release date? Bullshit. Mm-hmm. No 16 release schedule and in maintenance mode. Now no 18 is on maintenance mode? Holy moly. They are on fire, man. Okay. They have now one they have 1 year of active, and then October, and then a year and a half of maintenance. Holy moly. So you have to keep up the pace on all of this. Alright. Okay. Now that we install all of this package here, alright, and it doesn't complain about it.
Cool, we're done. Right, and now we're just going to initialize our project. So let's do Expo, init, and then your project name. So I'm going to name mine UK.
Okay. So here, because we installed this globally, Expo as init, this is the command, Expo init, awesome, awesome project, Expo. We hit this, and it tells me, hey, there is a new version of Expo CLI available. You're currently using Expo CLI 3, which is totally fine. I'm good with that. Install Expo CLI globally using the package manager of your choice. For example, this to get the latest version. But I don't want to get the latest version. For this purpose, this version of Expo CLI is not supported anymore. And I get it. And I get it. The API endpoint using this version of Expo CLI might not exist. Any interaction with Expo servers may result in unexpected behavior. Okay. So this version of Expo is not supported anymore. It is highly recommended to update to the newest version. But as but based on their docs, especially on the Expo here, based on their docs, you get it. So based on their docs is like that. So okay, I might have some troubles here because there might be some API endpoints using this version of Expo CLI might not exist. An interaction with Expo servers may result in an unexpected behavior. How can we do this? I think, well, oh shit. Let's see how that goes. Let's see how that goes. Perhaps for newer versions, newer features. Oh man. Anyway, but okay, proceed with caution.
You can have a TypeScript if you're a TypeScript fan. You can have TypeScript already added. And you can also have React Navigation already pre-configured. We're going to add React Navigation ourselves later, so we're just going to go with the most blank template.
Okay. Oh, you can add TypeScript to this tabs. Okay. Downloading and extract project files using npm to install package. Installing JavaScript dependency. So Expo is a suite of tools built for and around React Native, because that's what we interacted here. So it's all about improving the developer experience. Okay. Okay. So far so good. Okay. So far so good. So far no any issues, no any problem.
So now you can use Yarn if you have Yarn installed, or just I think it's actually npm run start. fix my documentation. Cool. So this opens the package then. So now we're halfway there. So now what you do is, if you're going to be using your phone, you can take your phone. In fact, I'm going to mirror mine so you can see what I'm up to. So I'm going to go to the App Store. If you're on, I know if I'm going on the App Store, take your phone. In fact, I'm going to mirror mine so you can see what I'm up to.
Okay, so we create a project here, the awesome project, and then you say, hey, npm run the npm star. You can open iOS, Android, or web here, or run them directly with the commands below. So the commands you use,
I think it's actually npm run start.
exactly, it's npm star. There is no need to actually say run npm star, and you throw an error. npm run star, and you throw an error. Okay, here we go. You know what? I'm gonna do something much more interesting. I'm gonna go with the newest version. So yeah, I'm gonna go with the newest version. I'm gonna go for the newest version. So let me now uninstall here this. So uninstall here. Perfect. I also want to uninstall is this, the Node version. nvn uninstall the version 12 on that. Remove that. You say, hey, exactly, because I need to change that nvn use version 20, and now I can uninstall that previous Node version. And now I want you to is actually run this, run this binary to create my application, which is create Expo app. In my case is, okay, let me in fact go back, remove in a recursive force way this particular project, get rid of all of that, and now it is time to say, hey, create my app. So by running this particular binary command called here, which is this. So this command, I would like to take a question here. What this command does, npnx, okay, as a way to understand, hey, what is this actually do? Command with all right. As a way to understand this more, npm is a command line tool that is run Node.js binary and the script. Here's what it does. Execute a package that is not installed globally. This is useful for running locally installed tools directly. Exactly. Execute a package that is not installed globally. If the package is not found in your local node model folders, npm will install the latest versions temporarily and run it. It can execute code from a GitHub, GIST, or any other public location. It can handle command lines arguments to the script. So for example, if you want to create a React like this, you can use the npm like this. This command tells npmx to run the create app command, which will create a new React application. It is called my app in this case. But what it does behind the scene is to execute a package that is not installed globally And this is useful for running locally installed tool directly. Mhm. So if you take a look now at the npm x here, a little bit, uh, exactly, because it's going to now execute a package locally. Now what? hmm So come with me here. All right. I mean is oh, is here exactly as a way to look at this. So we're going to come in from a local or remote package. So this command allows you to run an arbitrary command from an npm package, either one installed locally or fetch remotely. Okay, whatever in a similar context as running it via npm run, whatever package are specified by the package option will be provided in the path here. So npm versus npm exec. When run via npm's binary, all flags and options must be set prior to any position argument. When run via npm exec, a double hyphen flag can be used to suppress npm parsing or switches and an option that should be sent to execute command. For example, you got this, okay? In this case, npm will resolve the full package name and run the following command. Exactly, and run the following command. Exactly. Which is pretty much what it's doing behind the scenes when we are running is this command. It's saying, hey, I'm going now to download that. I'm now going to locate this package called create Expo app and then download that if it's local. If it's not locally, then download that, and then run the command, which is create Expo app. In contrast to the npm argument parsing logic, running this command is different. npm access full latest bar and that kind of thing. In this case, npm will parse the hyphen package option first, resolving okay is the order in which they're going to do this. Resolving the npm CLI full package, then it will execute the following command in that context. Mm-hmm. Run a command other than that, but the idea here is that compatibility with older npm versions. It was written in npm version 6, 7, and the standalone npm package here. The result is often shift in functionality, but the idea here is to say, hey, I'm going to locate this file, okay? And in fact, this is quite legacy. I'm going to now run an arbitrary command from an npm package. Okay. Run an arbitrary command from an npm package, either locally or fetch remotely, in similar context as running it with npm run. The thing here is that this command, in this case, will resolve the full package name and run the following command. So that's the thing here with this npm x. It's like, hey, I'm going to allow you to run this command from an npm package. If this package is local or remote, we're going to find out. But even though it's not local, I'm going to download it. So that's exactly pretty much what this is doing. Okay. Uh, hey, I'm going to now find a. I'm going to run. I'm going to run an arbitrary command uh, from an npm registry. In this case, I'm going to run this arbitrary command from wherever this uh, command is registering. Okay, is registered. And there you go. So I prefer to use now this newer version. Here is a create Expo app. Need to install this. Uh, please be my guest. Locating project files. Okay, download and extract project files. Now it's installing is all of this. Okay. So here we're using is the new version of the Expo CLI. Remember, is this suite of tools to is this suite of build is this suite of tools built and for is this suite of is this suite okay is this suite of tools built for and around React Native. Okay, it's all about developer experience. It's all about the X. Mhm. It's all about the X. All right. Holy moly, really? Okay. Okay. Is there. Which is downloading is all of this particular package, IDL3. I think it gets stuck there. Hmm. All right. Much better. And there you got it. So, yep. That documentation is quite old. So, yeah. Which means that I need to actually take a look at this guideline. The development process. Expo router, Expo models API, Expo application service. Makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense. All right. Okay. Okay. It is time to do our homework. Okay. It is time to do our homework. Okay. It is time to do our homework. This section contains information about the development with Expo and Expo application service. Oh, here we go. Here we go. So, Expo. This is real, man. Guide overview. This section contains development process, Expo router, Expo models, Expo application service, and other content. So this is the basic. This is the home of this. Try Expo in your browser. Frequently asked questions. Join us for office hours. chat with the community, and that kind of thing. Image, camera, notifications, view all API. Exactly. Explore the APIs for that. Watch our latest talk. Join the community. See the source code. Connect with others and get connected. And there you got it. Alright. Okay, but for my particular case here is this guideline. This is the reference. They're gonna tell you that exactly. SDK 50, goddamn. Configuration files. So you can okay, and all of the API that is exposed to that. Interesting. Actually, I really love about mobile. Totally. Technical stack. This Expo structure fields, more CLI, velocity terms. Good. But here we are is with guide. Okay, this section contains information. Okay. This section contains information about the development with Expo and Expo application ESA. Okay. Expo and Expo application. Expo and Expo application and Expo application service. EAS. Exactly. With Expo and Expo application service. This section contains information about the development with Expo and Expo application service. Interesting. Expo and Expo application services. Wait, what? Exactly. Expo, and Expo application services. Why you do that? Who the fuck? Exactly. Expo and Expo application service. So you got the development process, learn about the process of building an app with Expo. Okay, you got is the development process, Expo router, Expo router, Expo models, Expo models. I get it. I get it. I get it. And Expo application services. And Expo application services. This is quite interesting because again, as Kadi Kraman mentioned, remember that Expo after all is this particularly set of is this suite of tools built for and around React Native. Okay, so it is all about improve the developer experience. So this is just describing is what is this guidelines, the development process, Expo router, je ne sais pas, Expo models, so how you can add those models, those existing models in Expo or React Native, and then Expo application services. Okay, okay. Expo application service. Deeply integrated cloud service for Expo and React Native apps from the team behind Expo. Okay, so first, learn more about the building an app with Expo to help you understand the mental model and the core development loop. Mental model and development loop. These sections also dive into additional configurations and workflow you may require during the development process to help you develop, deploy, and maintain your app. It contains in-depth information about app configurations, permissions, universal link, custom native code, and web. The other is the Expo router. Learn about using different navigation functionality from the Expo router library. It also covers a comprehensive hooks API, coming from React, okay, that the library provides another aspect of such as navigation, such as authentication, redirect, and testing. Okay, this is the Expo router. Through the navigation. And Expo models were other things that you can add on from the Expo model API and the Expo application services. Deeply integrated cloud service for Expo and React Native app from the team behind Expo. Learn about EAS build, EAS submit, EAS update, EAS metadata, and EAS insights. Okay. All right. Okay. So far, a lot of things going on. There is no need to actually remember that, but what they can do, what they can offer them. So the development process help you to look at how you can set up, help you to understand is the mental model and the development loop. Oh, awesome. Okay, help you to understand the mental model and the development loop. Okay, the other is uh, navigation and helper functions. Okay, adding or removing existing functionality in their expo expo model and expo application service. Exactly, an expo application service, which is the expo application service, which is deeply integrated cloud service for Expo and React Native app from the team behind Expo. Learn about ES build, ES submit, ES update, ES metadata, and ES insight. Okay, so this is their service, Expo application service. Deeply integrated cloud service for Expo. Deeply integrated cloud service for Expo. For Expo and React Native app. And React Native apps. Okay, from the team behind Expo. Learn about ES build. Okay, so far let's going to put it simple, exactly. A sorted and third-party integration section. Okay, so far so good. So far so good.
Yeah, fix my documentation. Cool. So this opens the package up, and look, now we're halfway there, isn't it?
Okay, so now that's interesting. You say see the awesome project Expo, npm run Android, npm iOS, npm run web. You know? Okay. So here, alright, it's quite different than what you're gonna
How
show
we
me.
do it is, if you're going to be using your phone,
Mm-hmm. npm run def, my friend. Okay. Okay, developing an app with Expo. If you're new to Expo and Expo, you have to area around blah, 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 to make yourself familiar with the Expo. Expo app is just a build tool. This is a short term we use to describe React Native app that use Expo tools. Exactly. React Native app that use Expo tools. Again, a suite of tools built for and React Native. An Expo app can use a single package from Expo SDK or Expo Router or Expo CLI or continuous native generation, a combination of them or any other Expo tools. We say Expo app because React Native that use Expo tools is incredibly inconvenient to frequently type and speak out loud. React Native app that use Expo tools. Okay, but Expo app after all is this. It's a React Native app that use Expo tools. So is the development process different from an Expo app and React Native apps that don't use Expo tools? Expo provide a variety of services that can be adopted independently, so it is more for the developer experience. So what is the difference between Expo and Expo application services? Expo is an open source project that gives developers powerful tools to build and maintaining React Native apps at any scale. For example, Expo CLI, Router, SDK. All Expo open source tools are Expo SDK. All Expo source tools are entirely free to use and carry on with MIT. However, Expo Application Service (EAS) is a suite of hosted service that can use with Expo and React Native projects. There is a suite of hosted service for that. So it allows you to build, submit, update, and update your app, set up automation around all of this process, and collaborate with your team. Set up automation around all of this process and collaborate with your team. ES solve a set of problems that require physical resource, such as application servers for CDNs for serving over-the-air updates and physical servers for running builds. ES has a generous free plan that will work for many student or hobby projects. You don't need to use GitHub to use Git, but it certainly helps for many cases. So something that they mention here, ES solves a set of problems that require physical resource, such as application servers and CDN for serving over-air updates and physical server for running builds. So now, if you're using their servers, they're going to run is the application on their servers. They're going to provide you updates on the fly and build servers and run and server for running builds. Okay, for running your application development. Okay, so just application servers, and physical server for running your running build. Do you have to use ES if use Expo open source? Not necessary, but Expo is probably just a React exactly. You can use Fastlane or any native build update or more tools like that. But with ES service allow you to run them on your own infrastructure, and we provide instructions for how you can accomplish this. Let's say you want to do self-hosting updates. In my case, I want to keep things simple as possible. Let they run their servers out there. For most things, it makes sense to use ESM rather than spending the engineering time and resource on acquiring, setting up, and maintaining the servers on their infrastructure. Additionally, ES provides deep integration between servers such as development or such as deployment page for monitoring app versions adoption, assigning updates to specific builds, and rolling those updates out incrementally, which tie back into monitoring with ESA. But again, it makes a lot of sense for teams because EAS provide deep integration between service, provide deep integration between service, such as the deployment, deep integration between services, deployment page, deployment page for monitoring app version adoption, assigning update to a specific build. Awesome, awesome. Deployment page for monitoring app version adoption. Okay, which version actually is people are using? Monitoring the app version, assign update specific to build. Hey, we're gonna update this particular build, assign updates to a specific build, and rolling those updates out incrementally. Okay, which tie back to monitoring ES inside. Can I use EAS if I'm not using any Expo open source tool? Yeah, I think you do. Expo Go, an optional tool for learning, experimental, and prototyping. There's no faster way to spin up a React Native project and run it on your device or emulator than Expo Go, especially when combined with Snack. However, Expo Go and Snap are not intended for building production apps, of course, because this is the dev environment, yes, or the integrated terminal, this integrated development environment. If you plan on deploying your app on the store, then development builds will be more flexible, reliable, and complete development for that. This guide does not go into any detail about Expo Go. This is only section, and this is the only section that it mentioned. Development build. A development build is a debug build for your app that contains Expo Dev Client library. It helps you to iterate as quickly as possible and provide a more flexible, reliable, and complete development environment than Expo Go. You can install any native library and configure or apply change to a native project using app config or by creating a config plugin. You can create a development build locally or use ES build to create build in the cloud. That makes it interesting, and that's the reason why they're using it. Yes, EAS, EAS. I get it because it allowed this EAS allowed them for development. It's a suite of hosted servers that you can use with Expo and React Native project to build, submit, and update your app. Set up automation around of this process. Collaborate with your team. Okay. EA solve a set of problems that require physical servers, such as application servers and CDN for serving over the air, and physical servers for running build. EAS has general free plan, but it's like that. They allow you to build, submit, and update your app, set up automation around the process, and collaborate with your team. And one of those development build is this Android and iOS native projects. React Native app for mobile platform are made of two interconnected parts. The app JavaScript, this contains your React components and most, if not all, of your application logic and has more or less the same role as app JavaScript on React website. And then you got the native. Android and Xcode project that bundles the JavaScript app serve as a launchpad for JavaScript apps on each platform. Android and Xcode project that bundles the JavaScript app, serve and launchpad for the JavaScript app on each platform. They also handle the rendering of native component and they provide the means to access platform specific da, 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 da. Link to any mobile app. The application that is distributed to user is created by compiling, building, and the Android Studio Xcode project. When you initialize a new project with npm expo create, you will not only set any Android or iOS directory, you can generate the native. Okay, when you initialize a new app with this command, hey, uh, run this arbitrary command from the local register, from the npm register, whether it's local, because it's not, remotely. But when you initialize a new app with npm create expo, you will not see any Android or iOS directory. You can generate a native project by running the npm expo prebuild, which will initialize the native project and then apply the project expo app config to them. If you could use a cloud-based development workflow, which is in our case, I prefer to, you may never need to run preview on or install Android Studio or Xcode on your own machine. Hopefully that's the thing that I want to do, right? Although you might find this useful, this explained below in the local and cloud-based development workflow. Why aren't for example, in our case, when I run this, exactly, I only see is those that are relevant for this. Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. The I think is below. Exactly. Why aren't native projects created by default when you initialize a project with Create Expo? Exactly. Why aren't native projects created by default when you initialize a project with Create Expo? The default behavior encourages to use continuous native generation to generate the native project when needed. This is a particular concept from there. Okay. The continuous native generation, part of their mental model, as they describe here. You know, to better understand the development process of building an Expo. It will help you to build a mental model of the core development loops and how Expo tools fit into it. So the default behavior encouraged to use is the continuous native generation. It has like cartel. You have a cartel acronym. It looks like a cartel. It looks like a cartel's acronym to generate the native project when needed, which can make upgrades and project maintaining significantly easier. The following three commands result in more or less the same project. Exactly. So the default behavior encourages the use of continuous native generation to generate a native project when needed, which can make upgrades and project etc. So the default behavior encourages the use of continuous navigation, native generation, continuous native generations to generate the native project when needed, which can make upgrades and project maintaining significantly easier. The following three commands result in more or less the same project. Then you get in that, and then you create your build, you pre-build that bare minimum and npm react native init my app install expo model. The following three commands result in more or less the same project. So when you create that, okay, template bare minimum. To generate native project when needed. Okay, this is when you want to generate native project when needed. Expo prebuild, or you can pass a flag to that command that will understand that, hey, behind the scenes, this is what I'm gonna do. Or this, hey, React Native, I want you to now run this application, go into there, and then install the Expo model. And then run the install Expo model, which is actually is generating the mhm, generating is the pre-build. Generating is the native project when needed. Continuous native generation. Continuous native generation is the process for building an Expo app. Remember, Expo app is this React Native that use Expo, where you native projects are generated on demand from your app.json and packages. Similarly to how you Similar to how your Node.js models are generated from your package JSON. Okay. So continuous native generation is a process for building an Expo app where your native projects are generated on demand. So you're telling to Expo, hey, I want you to generate the native projects based on this configuration on demand. And the native projects. Mhm. So you can add the native project directory, Android and iOS, to your git.ignore and or delete the project at any time, then regenerate them from the Expo app config with npm x expo preview. Whenever required, you might never exactly. You might never ever run preview on your own development machine. You can add native project directory Android and iOS to your git ignore and or delete the project at any time, then regenerate them from the Expo app config with npm expo preview whenever required. You might never ever you might never even run preview on your own development machine if you use a cloud-based development workflow, which is kind of the thing that we want to. Using native generation, continuous native generation can make updating to newer versions of React Native much more easier. It can simplify project maintenance and facilitate setting up complex features such as app clip, share extension, and push notification. This is all made possible with config plugins. Learn more about continuous native generation. A lot of mental model that they create as a way to offer you as a developer a streamlined developer as a streamlined development experience when writing, building, deployment team and deploy and monitor mhm, deploy and monitor uh, native applications or React Native apps. So what if I want to edit native project configuration in Android Studio or Xcode rather than generating the project with Preview? Has proven to be helpful to many teams. However, it may not be best fit if your fit for your project, and this is perfectly reasonable. It may not be a best fit for your project, and this is a perfectly reasonable way to use Expo tools in many cases. You can run npm expo preview in the project and then make changes directly to the Android and iOS directly instead of using Expo app config. If you decide to do this, then keep in mind that you won't be able to regenerate your project using preview any longer. Uh-huh. npm, okay, running previews after making native change directly will override all of those modifications. Know that you can use config plugins to modify the native project configuration without having to modify the native project directly. And if you decide to move back to CNG at some point, how do I need, for example, this? How do I know when I need to run pre-builds again? If you add a new native dependency to your project or change the project configuration in Expo app, how do I know when I need to run preview again? Okay. So if you edit your native project configuration in Android or uh, exactly, if you configuring is your native project configuration in Android or Xcode rather than generating the project with preview, uh, keep in mind that you won't be able to regenerate your project using preview any longer. Running preview after making native change directly will override all of those modifications. Completely. Running preview after making native change directly will override all of those modifications. It's going to regenerate that again. So if you find yourself in the need to say, hey, I need to eject in this application, I need to actually go to the native code and do something about it, okay, then you will have to actually create some React Native plugin in this two target compiler, and then you're gonna do that. hmm How do I know when I need to run pre-build? If you add a new native dependency to your project or change the project configuration in Expo app, you can run Expo pre-build clean to regenerate the native project directory. See determine third-party library compatibility. And then you have now cloud-based and local development workflow. So whatever you choose, cloud-based or local, doesn't significantly alter your development loop. It is about how you produce and distribute your app binaries. And that's something, how you produce, how you build and distribute your app binaries that your JavaScript code runs against. Choosing a cloud-based or local development is a choice you can make each time you run a new native build. Compiling your app in the cloud with EAS build is as easy as running a single command. No need to install Android Studio or Xcode. Cloud builds make it easy to share your app with other teammates or stakeholders. Exactly, compiling your app in the cloud because that's exactly what I want. Compiling your app in the cloud with ES Build is as easy as running single command. No need to install Android Studio or Xcode. Cloud builds make it easier to share your app with other teammates or stakeholders, among other benefits. To compile your app locally, you will need to install Android Studio or Xcode on your machine. And then you can either run the build from those tools or use npm expo run. Exactly, which is Expo RAM. Which is this MPNX Expo RAM. Android or iOS. This is most useful when you want to develop your app on a physical device or emulator simulator using the Navigate debug tool. Learn more about cloud-based workflow with EAS build. Exactly. Okay. Okay. The core development loop. So initialize and run a project. Easy ways to create this. I already did that. You can immediately launch it directly in Expo Go or on your physical device or an emulator simulator if you want to experiment or build a quick prototype. In most cases, you will create a use development build of your project. You will install the Expo Dev client library, and development builds can be created with EAS build or locally on your machine. Create a development build. Create a development build. Learn how to create development build for your project using EAS. Local app compilation. Learn how you compile your app here. hmm And this is local app development from Android. You will need to install is, if you're in Linux, you will need to install is this. Okay. Local app development. Local app compilation. Exactly. And compiling with Expo CLI from that. Okay, so what I'm gonna do here is to for our job is to have a local compilation and an ESS compilation as a way to say, okay, this thing started to make a lot of sense. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. 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 Work week. Python work week. Python work week. Okay. Onboarding for staff. Okay. Uh, um, Expo. Exactly. Infra setup and Expo. 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 Local. Okay. Expo. Exactly. Infra setup and Expo. Expo workflow. And Expo. Okay. 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 Infra setup. So the thing that I'm gonna do here is to uh, set up a local. Set up a local Expo basics. Set up a local uh, is here. A local app development here. Set up a local app development. Set up a set up an Expo local app development. Set up an Expo cloud app development. Local build with EAS. Exactly. Run builds locally or your infrastructure. Customizing version of software is not supported. Caching is not supported. EAS secrets are not supported. Exactly. In Windows, you can use WSL for local ES build and do not support builds for and do not support Windows for local builds. Okay. And the other is this: run builds locally or on your infrastructure. hmm I'm not interested into that. Not at all. Okay. hmm Okay. Okay. hmm hmm Cloud-based workflow with ES build. hmm And the other is this setup, but this is to build them remotely. Okay, this is to build them remotely. ES Build is a hosted service for building app binaries for your Expo and React Native app. So this is a cloud-based development. Set up an Expo cloud app development, cloud-based app development, and the other is this. Okay. Okay. Um, I think it's this. No. Local app compilation. Okay. All right. Okay. And then you have the core development loop. Make change to the project. Write JavaScript application code. See the change reflected in your app. Update app config and app.json or config plugin. Does the change impact the native project? Write native code or modify native configuration. Create new build. Write native code or modify native configuration. Create new development build. Install a library from npm. Does the library include native code? No. Make change to the project. Does the library include native code? Yes. Create new development build. Local. Do you use continuous native generation? No. Create a new development build with npm expo run. Yes. Run preview npm expo preview clean. Okay. Holy moly. Okay. Alright. Okay. So things are starting to make a little bit more sense, especially as we get into the expo here and understand more about this. Okay, let's go to keep moving. Let's go to keep moving
You
here
can take your phone.
because in our case, the only thing that we need to do is to run is that. Exactly. Make a change to the project, write JavaScript application code, and see that change. So in our case, if I say npm run web, mhm, you can use EAS update. Okay, for local app development, then you have to do this. Okay. All right. Okay.
That I'm going to mirror mine so you can see what I'm up to. So I'm going to go to the App Store. If you're on, I know if I'm going on the App Store, if you're on Google, go on Google Play. And then just search for Expo. And we'll have an application that looks like this.
This is the Expo client.
is called the Expo client, and install it if you don't already. Otherwise, you can open it. You might have to log in as well. Cool. So now we
Do I need to log in here? What the heck?
have this installed. And now notice that this debug screen that Expo launched for us has this handy QR code. So what we do now is, if you're on an Android phone, there will be a button on your screen that says scan QR code. But if you're on an iOS phone like me, what you do is you open the camera app, and it will give you a little push notification that tells you to open the app Expo. Now you can see in the bottom it says building JavaScript bundle. This is actually here. This is what it's doing. Cool. And that's basically Expo. On an iOS phone like me, what you do is you open the camera app, and it will give you a little push notification that tells you to open the app Expo. Now you can see in the bottom it says building JavaScript bundle. This is actually here. This is what it's doing. Cool. And that's basically our Hello World application. Let's have a look at the folder structure that was created. Let's have a look at the folder structure that was created. So this is all the structure that was created.
Hmm. Mm-hmm. A lady.
So this is all this created, which is actually not a lot. If you're already familiar with JavaScript, you definitely know node modules. So node modules is basically where all the earlier while Expo was building. And this is basically where you can add all the assets that you want to include your applications, any images, any fonts, any icons. Then these two are just
If we take a look now at this, Actually, here the folder structure is quite different from that. You actually have Babel. This okay. This transpiler that allows you to use is the a transpiler that allows you to use is the latest syntax of JavaScript and output something that works on any browser. Okay, and you got the app.json here. hmm The package JSON and here and the entry point.
Expo specific little folders that you can pretty much just ignore for now. Then we have some Babel and app content, which we can also ignore. The main thing, the only thing that we really care about here is this, which is our app.js, which is where we'll start writing our code.
All right, that was a lot. That was a lot. And that'll be all for this video. Take care. Bye bye.